Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're taking a look at some of the decks coming in the future very soon to the TCG in Battles of Legend Terminal Revenge. This set debuts the support for all of the dual terminal archetypes that got announced or that came into the OCG like at the end of last year. And we're finally getting them, and a lot of the support is actually really solid stuff. So we're going over 3 of the decks that are getting support in this set. Pretty significant support in my opinion, and I'm giving you a good skeleton deck list for all 3 of them. They're just a good starting point that if you just want to jump out and have something to run right out the gate, this gives you a good place to like start from. And then as you learn more with the deck, you can kind of make your own personal adjustments for the format, for what your personal style is, all that stuff. So, really cool. We're getting this set in less than 3 weeks, so let's jump into this thing. Starting off here, the first deck we're going to look at is Infernoid. I will say, this is probably of the 3 decks, the one I know the least about in terms of how in-depth, but I do still think this is a good list. I've referenced a couple of other lists. This is not the same list that I've seen from anybody else really, but, a lot of similar points here, because, a lot of people agree on, like, the best way to run it. Okay. Let's get started with the Infernoid lineup. Of course, Decatron is the heart and soul of the deck. Copying other Inferno monsters, super crucial. Then a bunch of one-offs, basically. One Pure Mice, I like him because he's a level 1 fire, so he's searchable off of Ash, which is really nice. There can be scenarios where you need an extender like that, so he can be nice there. Antra and Petrulia, nice for their removal, and just being smaller levels matters as well. Sujet, it's a level 6, which is super crucial for resolving Void Feast, your trap card, because you summon 3 Infernoids whose levels total 8, basically. So by summoning him, he's a 6, then you can summon like 2 Decatrons to total 8. So him being a level 6 is actually really important there. 1 copy of Satsamas. You don't need to play both him and a Tondel, you just need 1, and his bonus effect is just straight up better, so he's the better one in my opinion. And then 2 Deviati, 1 Anunku. I've seen some lists that play 2 Anunku, but to me Deviati's clearly the better one of the 2. And from that point, I just kind of move forward and I go, we have ways to recycle them. It's not the end of the world, but you do want to have them in deck to be able to send off of Decatron, because that's what makes him the most powerful. But yeah. From there, you move into the Snake Eye lineup. This should be super standard. It's basically just standard Snake Eye fare here. 3 Ash, 2 Poplar, 1 Oak, 1 Flamberge. Maybe that's a little different. With the bricks already playing, you just really don't want to play more Flamberges. It's too much. 2 Dark Witch, 2 Bellstar, 3 Wanted, 3 Bonfire, 1 Original, 1 Temple, rounding out that lineup. Pretty basic. The cool thing about this deck is even if the Infernoid stuff isn't really working, or you're just not able to connect to it in a certain duel, you can kind of just default to playing Snake Eye, the best deck in the game. That's not a bad place to be there, but this is still a much cooler variant for sure. From there, Instant Fusion. This is actually a huge bomb card in the deck because you can just extend Infernoid Evil onto the field, and this card's really good. It just searches you a Void card, which is really nice. And then we move to the Void cards themselves. So 3 Vanishment. This card's really nice. Searches the rest of the Void cards. It basically has utility going first, utility going second, and utility in the grind. Really nice, right? You can just search out Imagination going second. Big bomb card to break boards. Void Feast going first. Big powerful interruption card going, or sorry, did I say going first? This is going second. Void Imagination going second. Void Feast going first. That's the card that summons out your Saitamaas and usually 2 Decatrons for like 3 separate interruptions. Which is really solid. And then Blaze Up. This card basically helps you like reset all of your Infernoids from Banish back into the grave to basically allow you to keep playing. The Inferno engine can dry up a little quickly sometimes, and if you're not getting home and killing your opponent, you do want to be able to reset everything. So that card's pretty important there. And then 9 non-engine slots. These slots don't even really matter that much to me at this point in time. They shouldn't to you either, I don't think. I just think with this list, this is actually a smaller list than I've seen from some other people as well. So keep in mind, you can play no non-engine and end up around 35 cards pre-non-engine, so technically 5 slots. I just felt like I wanted a little bit more there, but there are worlds where you maybe just want to play maybe the 3 droplets and then maybe like a Thrust Talents package if you want to go a little more board breaker heavy. There's some good normal spells in this deck you can search there. But other than that, this is yours to play with as you see fit. Moving into the extra deck, 2 Anima. This is kind of a bummer about Linkuriboh being banned, is because it can't come back every turn. So if you use one turn 1, you really could need another one later on to like clear level 1 off the field. So I think 2 is the move there. Masquerena, SP Little Knight, Hita, super standard link 2s for these lists. Dark as well, just because Anima's a link 2. You know what I mean? It is pretty easy for you to make a Dark, so, you know, Dark still might be the best attribute after Fire in the current metagame, so that's not bad. Proxy F Magician, there's some cool lines here where you can summon 2 Infernoids and use this to fuse them into Infernoid Evil, and then just link Red into Promethean Princess, which is pretty cool. Because just getting to him like gets you access to your voids, which is really good. Then One Flood, this is actually a pretty good end board piece, just negates summons, and has the ability to banish stuff. It's a decent card. Then Raging Phoenix and Zelantis for the OTK, and then we get to the fusions. Infernoid Evil searches your void cards, pretty good. Infernoid Tiara, this card's also really strong. Going second when you make it with Void Imagination. Utilizing Intis here for pops to help break apart boards. And then you finish up with Typhon, just super basic, you know. Helps you clean up boards, helps you beat over stuff, deal with big monsters. It's a pretty good card. Weird stuff in the side deck here, nothing too important. I just wasn't sure that either of these 3 cards were worth playing in the main, or even like playing at all, these 2. And then this one maybe is a good side deck card. This is a deck that relies on its engine a lot to break boards, so that's a nice card there. And then 2 Link 2s, I thought Sunlight Wolf maybe could be there instead of Dark for recursion. This card's not out yet, Flame Tongue, but he does just add a fire back from Banish. That's pretty good in this deck. Just because the Infernoids banish themselves pretty consistently. So just getting an Infernoid back and then saving it for next turn follow-up is pretty nice. But yeah, that's basically it for this list. I think it's a good starting point there. From here, we need to move into Ice Barriers. This is the one I'm probably the most excited about so far heading into this set. But yeah, let's get into it. So starting off, you have 3 Revealer. It's your best starter. Summons 1 from deck by discarding a card. 2 Hexa Spirit. This card sends 1 from deck. And that monster you're always sending basically is Mirror Magic Master. This card's insane. This card's so broken. If it's sent to grave generically, just sent however, it adds any Ice Barrier card from deck to hand, and then if it's on field, it contribute 1 other monster you control to summon 3 Ice Barrier tokens just to synchro away with. Really, really powerful card. From there, you have a really awesome extender in Georges. This card just summons if you have an Ice Barrier, and then he can revive an Ice Barrier from grave. And while he's on field where you control another Ice Barrier, he just has no activated effects in the graveyard. That's pretty powerful. This card's really strong as well. 3 Speaker. I like 3 Speaker because it's a level 4 water, which allows us to more consistently open lines. We're able to go Bahamut early to make sure we play under Nib, to make sure we get an Omni-Negate super early, or at least force an interruption out super early. It's really good. General Wayne, he's a crucial engine piece that allows you to search for spells and traps out in those situations. And then 1 General Raiho. I'm electing not to main Warlock at this point with this list. You can, though, if you want. They're just both bricks and, like, kind of ugly to draw. But this guy's really, really strong. Basically says every time your opponent would resolve a monster effect on the field, they have to discard. It's basically like they have to discard for cost on any monster effect they activate on field. But when it's every single effect, it means they run out of steam in hand, like, super quickly. So it's pretty cool. And then 3 Ice Jade, Ron, Azurine. This card's really cool. It pitches a water monster from hand to summon itself and a level 3 token. So you can go straight into a water Synchro 10, which the deck plays like 3 or 4 of. It's really cool. Really solid extender for the deck. They have a non-once per turn Rhoda. It's really good. They have a Reborn spell, and they have a card that can like tribute 1 to summon from deck. All important cards for these 2, more so important for like specific lines you want to take, but still good. At first I was looking at Prosperity, and then I realized Prosperity is unplayable in this deck because almost all of your best lines, you're trying to like draw 3 to 4 cards. And so you can't do that under Prosperity, so I decided to mess around a little bit with Foolish Burial Goods here. If you have another option for consistency, feel free to mess around with that, but this is what I was messing around here because there's already cool synergy with Ice Barrier as well. But yeah, so you can send Ice Barrier. This card can banish itself from grave to basically add a level 5 water monster, 5 or higher water monster from deck to hand. So you can grab an extender like Georges or General Wayne, or Ice Jade, Ron, Izurine, or the Gamma Seal down here. So pretty good utility. You have a going second utility, multiple going first extenders. It's pretty decent. It's called, and then a bunch of non-engine. The only interesting one here for the non-engine is Gamma Seal, because it's searchable off Ice Barrier. That's it. Into the extra deck. Let's start here with the Synchros. You have a couple of your 10s here. Sword, Soul, Supreme, Sovereign, Cheng Ying. Pretty decent. The deck actually does have some ways to banish stuff. So this guy's cool. He's annoying to out. He can get powerful on-field and grave banishes. Decent card. Ice Shade Ymir Azurine, really cool as well. This card is kind of annoying to deal with as well. They both these cards are just kind of annoying to deal with when you get to them, all the Synchro 10s, which is a strong point of the deck if you get that far. This is the new boss monster, Lancia. These cards are really good. Twice per turn, once per chain. If your opponent special summons, you can just summon an Ice Bearer from deck. So you can just straight up like summon out your Raiho, and then something like Gorgeous, who says like no monster effects engrave, and every time your opponent activates a monster effect on field, they discard a card. It's going to force them to run out of a lot of advantage very quickly, and if they're discarding with this, they still can't use the monster effects engrave. So that's my favorite combo right now. Using those, and then even if this is destroyed, or leaves the field, it like summons one of the old Trishulas. You don't usually hard make this in the deck, even though you can, but like if your opponent does have to out this, you're usually floating into one of these to punish them, so that's pretty funny. You can make Drag Eye really easily, Spell and Trap Negate, super easy. Brionac to out big boards. You can out multiple cards at the same time. If you can do this under interaction, like if you have something like Dark Ruler or Droplet in the side or something, summoning this and then just bouncing 3 extra monsters at once, really, really strong. And then Croco Dragon. This is actually a Coral Dragon and Croco Dragon. These are really, really important cards in the deck as well. You draw all your standard going first combo lines, draw a card off of Coral, and then draw 2 to 3 cards off of Ravenous as well. So really, really strong combination. For sure. A couple links. Salamangreat Almirage. This card is just here for really awkward hands, specifically if you hard draw Mirror Magic Master and like no other great cards to play. Because you can normal her, link her off for this, search for an Ice Shade card, or an Ice Barrier card, and basically that's a play. It's not an amazing play, but it's something. So in a simplified board state, or just an awkward hand, this card does make the deck a little more consistent that way. 2 Coral Enemy. This card is huge for the deck. There are lines where extending with this is really important, but also like beating interaction. This card's really good as well, because like any time where you're able to just put this in grave, even if it gets negated from searching, you just make this reborn her and then tribute off the Coral Enemy to get your 3 tokens, and boom, you're going into like synchro lines from there. It's pretty cool. And then Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome added in here at the end. This is really important. There are really good lines where you're able to make Bahamut immediately, mostly Revealer lines, but like you start with Revealer, you get Speaker pretty quickly, and you go straight into the Bahamut Toad line before you hit 5th Summon. So protect yourself from Nib and other stuff as well. Yep, and then a couple other things, like I said, maybe Warlock in the main if you really want as strong as possible turn 1 play as you can. White Aura Whale and Grail Dragon, really nice Synchro 8 options the deck could potentially make use of as well. I wasn't sure about everything in here, but everything here felt like it had some purpose. You could definitely debate on if you want to make room for those. Area, it's a water deck. Not that I think water cards are like super, super popular right now, but if they get more popular down the line, this card's obviously pretty spicy there. And then the Black Goat Laughs. I threw this in here because I was like, what happens if I just like open Ice Barrier and Foolish Imperial Goods? There is no other great target here. Like you can send Winds, but Winds can't add a card from grave back to hand the turn it's sent to grave. So you still have to wait a whole turn. That makes this card so bad if you hard draw it with Ice Barrier. So I was like, what if you just mained one Black Goat Laughs that even if you open the Ice Barrier, you still have like some value to get off of this card, and this is a decent generic card anyway. I don't know. I was just messing around with it. Could be some other option if you have something off the top of your head that like you're like, that's a decent send target. Just send it. But yeah, depends. But yeah, there's Ice Bear. That's our second deck here. I'm excited to mess with this deck. I know there's also other ways you can play it, like Runic is a pretty good version as well. Has really good synergy there. You trim down on the engine, but focusing on Pure for this time around. And then we get to probably the most simple to build of the 3 decks, in my opinion, but also the hardest to play. Infernoid's hard to play too, but this deck is notorious for being one of the hardest decks to play in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, and it got more complicated with the new cards. So let's talk about it. You start with the basic monsters, the basic lineup here. You have your 3 Spiritual Beast Canahawks, your 3 Rampengus, your 1 Apelio. Those are your basic Spiritual Beasts. Then you get to your Spiritual Beast Tamers. These cards count as Ritual Beast Tamers and Spiritual Beasts at the same time. Our new card, Tamer Lara, is insane. This card is so good. This card is out of this world good, actually. And then 1 copy of Spiritual Beast Tamer Winda. I don't love playing this card. In fact, I don't love that this engine requires you to play like a couple of not great bricks, but I did trim down. I saw a list of somebody who was playing 2 additional bricks, playing Petalfin down here and Zephyrin Pilica, and I was like, we are not playing that. That's so bricky. I'm not about that. From there, you move to Tamer Elder. He makes your combos so much more explosive because he gives you an additional normal summon. That's a very important part of this deck, is that all the main deck monsters can only be special summoned once per turn. So once they've done their 1 special summon, you have to get others in rotation to get those out. And so him giving you an additional normal for 2 bodies immediately that haven't even been special yet is really good. And then you have 1 Wen, 1 Lara. These come up in certain combo lines or follow-up, so I think they're good enough to play. I don't love Winda, but you may just need that last name for certain combo lines where you just want that ceiling. But I wouldn't go too far past this. This is a pretty clean lineup here for me. All right, from there we move to some in-engine cards, some spells. 3 Inheritance. This is the new search spell. It's not a great search card because you have to reveal a Ritual Beast monster in hand to use it, but we're on 16 of them, plus Prosperity. That should be good enough. And it does mean that even if you open the bad ones, right, your Winda, your basic Lara, your basic Wen, or Apelio, those are basically your awkward ones to open, you can still pair them with a much better card. Get your Tamer Elder out into hand because he's your best pair with literally anything, and go from there. It's pretty good. 1 Bonds. This is an important card for certain combos to get you into the big Link 4 without having to actually put 4 Link materials into him. That's really good. 3 Prosperity. I like this card a lot in this deck. No drawing going on, so this is a really clean consistency card to help us get some of this stuff, or something like Cross Out to play way safer. The 1 Steeds. I was on the fence about this. Do you play 2 Steeds? The deck can definitely set up 2 Steeds in 1 turn on top of other stuff, but it's kind of a little bit like Marine Cess, where it's like it raises the ceiling marginally, but you add a clear extra brick to the engine for an engine that already has a couple bricks. So I think 1 Steeds is fine. We can use the resources that we would use to get a 2nd Steeds to end on something else anyway. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think 1 Steeds is fine, and you can recycle it anyway. All right, non-engine, 3 Crossout, although this is kind of engine. So what's really cool about Crossout is this card, the new Tamer Lara. When she is just banished, period, she summons a Ritual Beast from deck, which means Crossout is basically E-Telly, or saves you from any hand trap that we're running here, which is pretty varied. I really like that. That to me makes this card an auto max out in this deck no matter what. I see no reason in the TCG at least to ever play E-Telly over this in this deck. If you want to play both, fine. I'm not going to hate you on it. Extenders are extenders, and if you feel like you need them, then go at it. But I would play this over that first. Before you start putting E-Tellys in, you need 3 of this in your deck, because it's also saving you from nib, saving you from weird imperms spots, right? Or anything else, or even talents, breaking apart the board, or Prosperity. You can just fire it on Prosperity as a weird defensive card, setting it into for your opponent to, during your opponent's turn. So I think it's a mandatory 3 of in the deck for sure. Then you get talents. This is kind of a token one-off because of Crossout. If you're going to play 3 Crossout at all times and never side it out, you might as well have some of these really powerful, generic cards that you can hit, even if you're not getting hand trapped. 2 Ash, 3 Shifter. This is the other thing too. This may be the best Shifter deck in the game now going forward. I've talked about that. It feels like a lot of the other Shifter decks are so low ceiling that this deck as a Shifter deck, I think, probably has the highest ceiling now going forward. And as long as you're not deterred by the difficulty of playing the deck and all that stuff, and that it's just more to do when you play this deck. The combos are pretty intensive versus something like Flu and Cash and Exosister that have very simple basic lines that they work in. I think this deck could be the best Shifter deck in the game. And then basic stuff here down the line. Only 1 Veiler, because Veiler cannot be activated under Shifter, but I still wanted it because it's like a 3 of in so many decks. So as a 1 of, I think it's fine. You know what I mean? If you draw Shifter with it anyway, like, if you're shifting somebody, do you need the Veiler that turn? Probably not, so you're probably okay with that. We could have also found room for like one Called by the Grave potentially, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with this lineup here. Into the extra. 2 Ulticanahawks, just 2 different artworks for them. This is your main searcher, but it's not once per turn at all, so you just keep summoning it, keep putting it back in the extra, keep summoning it, keep putting it back. You play 2 because sometimes your opponent has a negate for one of them, or maybe otherwise if you played 1 and like a weird Kashtira Unicorn or a Buzz King, like somebody could rip 1 and like really kill your deck. 2 copies of Ulti Nochi Draco. This is the new dragon guy or worm guy. He's really cool because he summons from banishing from field or hand. Or for field or grave, my bad. Not hand. Where all the other ones banish from field only. So this card is way more free to summon than the other ones. And it means if you just put Lara in grave, you can just banish her immediately for this, which triggers her and gets her into the banish zone, which is really good. So yeah, this card's really, really important at helping the deck work way more fluidly now. 1 Apelio, it's just there as extra. He can kind of push for a good amount of damage. He does act as a target for you to reveal or banish off of Rampengu to send Apelio. He just comes up. 2 Guy Apelio. I played 2 here because same thing. I know there are lines where you use Rampengu to reveal or banish one of these to then send a Psychic, because all of the regular like Tamers are Psychics. But also, I know there are lines where you summon him because he is just a negate, and so if you only play 1 copy and you banish him, then like he's kind of gone for the duel, and you don't really have another copy. So I like the second copy just for that. That's fine, especially like since the rest of the extra is not that important after the Ritual Beast stuff. So 1 Ulti Falcos. This card is just a good combo facilitator, helps you get extra normals and stuff. He's good. And then 2 copies of Ritual Beast Ulti Ray Ratari. This card's also really cool. It gives you like a quick effect banish on the opponent's turn and just a follow-up add back, which is really nice. You usually cheat this guy out with bonds because you just banish 2 or whatever to summon him without needing to actually put 4 linked materials on the field. Then some basic stuff. Sometimes like throughout your combos you just end up with enough bodies where you're like, you know what, it doesn't even help me to make anything else Ritual Beast wise, so let me just make an IP. Cool, you can make SP from there. Underworld Goddess, this deck really does not have good removal at all. Ray Ratari is nice removal, but he's not, you don't get into him super early in your combos. So it's SP Little Knight for basic removal, and then otherwise if you run into like a problem monster, this may be the only route you can. This deck can spam the board, you just don't always have the best removal like on the way there. And then Baguska, second put 2 4s on the field, not too hard at all. So when you, like the way this, like the interaction this deck normally ends on is like, oh, a pop 2, an IP, and a banish 1. So it's like no negation, you know what I mean? So certain decks really can kind of work around these types of interactions decently well. So sometimes you're just like, screw it, let me make Baguska. Let me make Baguska plus Ray Ratari. Like a banish plus a Baguska is pretty decent. And then the last card is Typhon. This deck, you know, will definitely end up in mid-range scenarios, so Typhon's definitely an easy one to include here. The deck doesn't lock you at all. Its own restrictions are just that everything can only be special summoned once, so Typhon does not really care about that at all. I put E-Tailey down here, like I said, and then these 2 cards I would not make room for in here, but that's basically where we end up with all 3 of these deck lists. Hopefully I did a good job being in-depth enough without being too crazy. If you were interested in these decks, hopefully this gave you a good skeleton. Like I said, just a skeleton. You don't have to, you can build, I think this is a good place to like start. Build these, run them from here, see how they go for you, and then adjust from there. But just take them as a skeleton. I think these are good starting lists to kind of like get the engines together, get messing around with it, and then the sky is the limit from there. But I am out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching as always. Let me know what you think about these types of videos, like doing like a couple weeks before a set drops, like here's a video giving you a couple different deck lists all at once, and talking about them. I don't know. I think it's like fun for people who are like getting started with a deck and really want a good starting point. But I'm out of here for today. Let me know your thoughts on everything down below. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.